As we return to our normal lives, we know our expectations have been forever changed. One is a level of cleanliness that is expected and demanded by those who enter businesses, offices, restaurants, planes, trains, and automobiles. What can you do to ensure extreme cleanliness? That's the topic that Mark Warner, who's the National Sales Manager at the Bullen Companies, is going to bring to ISSA Show North America with his presentation. And Mark and I go way back. Mark, welcome to our program.
I'm happy to be here, Jeff, and it's great to be virtually in front of you again.
It's great to be virtually in front of you as well. Mark and I worked at ISSA. I still work there. Mark was there for several years working as a training manager there. We've been to a few trade shows, so it's going to be great to see you again, Mark, at the show in Vegas. But thank you for being here today and providing this sneak peek into your presentation. And just a few highlights here. It's going to be in the Solve for X Theater, and it's an all-access pass session. And the title of your discussion is New Normal is Expecting Extreme Cleanliness. Great topic on Wednesday, November 17th at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. So Mark, sneak peek us. Tell us about your presentation.
Wow, I've never had anybody say sneak peek us to me before. I'll run with that, The title is New Normal is Expecting Extreme Cleanliness. I'm a little cautious about the term new normal because that was a term that we used all through 2020 and it meant something totally different, So we have kind of like a new normal related to expectations in a post-COVID-19 world. And we don't even know if we're really approaching the end of COVID-19 as a pandemic or not. We do know there's a light at the end of the tunnel, Jeff. We just don't know what that light really is. So bottom line is that people are kind of traveling around in life, making their own judgments on their own personal safety. So I'm seeing a lot of people mask up a lot. I know me and a lot of the people that I work with and surround myself with make our own judgments on our perception of our own safety based on the level of cleanliness that we see. And that can bounce around from a mini market to a grocery store or anything else for that matter. So one of the big questions that I always get is, all right, if we're all going to be expecting extreme cleanliness, those of us that are in the cleaning industry, how do we approach it? And so it really boils down to kind of a strategic formula. That is, you have to have a very, very clear way of identifying what is your definition of a successful outcome of successfully performing the arts and sciences of cleaning and disinfection. What does that mean? Does it mean that it looks like the OR room in a hospital, or does it mean it looks like the bathroom at a truck stop? I mean, what is that definition? So once you know what the outcome is supposed to look like, that's a goal or your own personal standard, then you can start to work backwards and try to figure out, how do I meet that? And, cleanliness is directly influenced by the frequency of certain cleaning tasks. So it is more influenced by that than any other thing. It's more influenced by that than training. It's more influenced by that than the chemicals of the equipment used. And you might be wondering, wow, why are you saying that? But the truth is that if somebody had the most sophisticated chemistry and equipment and all the knowledge in the world regarding, say, floor care or cleaning a restroom, and they didn't do it often enough to deal with the traffic load that was happening, it would still not meet the expected outcome of being a clean restroom. So task frequencies are the number one driver. And obviously you have to go into that with a certain assumption that the people doing it have the right tools, equipment, and have the right training. If so, you can go to the next step in the formula and figure out, what's the staff assignments look like? Do I have 100 people to put around every single occupant in that building? If so, yeah, we can make it look like it's completely, sterile. It'll look like fantastic, but nobody has that kind of resources. You can't pack a building full of more workers than there are occupants and visitors, although we might like to. So staff assignments are based on how much can a person do? And of course, you and I work with the ISSA's Cleaning Times Manual, which is a third-party document, study that's been done to figure out how much time does it take to do certain tasks. And you need to be able to do that to figure out how many people does it take for me to do the frequencies I really wanted. And when you figure that out, Then you got to figure out how much is that going to cost. And quite honestly, Jeff, what happens is people hit that wall and say, oh my gosh, as much as I've created a wish list of what I'd like, I don't have the resources to do that. So where do I put my resources? Where do I put a limited amount of resources so they get the maximum bang for the buck? In other words, being most effective in the most efficient way possible. And there's three primary areas that we'll be talking about during the seminar in Las Vegas. One is that we deal with that perception of cleanliness. And perception is number one. It's influenced by something that a lot of people are not aware of. Unless you're in the cleaning industry, you aren't particularly aware of what the number one influencer of cleanliness is. And it's really not what you see. It's the sense of smell. And the sense of smell is an overpowering sense of whether or not something is clean. And that relates to food. Is it being safe to eat? It has to do with restrooms and the types of odors you might get in there, regardless of its appearance. So odors is number one, and there's 3 levels of attack that we do on that. And I'll get to that in a minute. The second area that has a high priority is floor care. I mean, supermarkets, retail stores, all these businesses that cater to the public invest huge amounts of money in maintaining their floors. And you may wonder why. And the reason why they do, there's been so many studies done to show that customers coming out of, say, grocery stores will comment on the store having the cleanest floors as being the cleanest overall store, when in fact areas above the floor may not be quite as detailed. There may be fingerprinting and smudging and so on. So floors create that influence. And you think about carpet care. You could go into an area on carpet care. If you're seeing traffic lanes, you're not getting this perception of it being clean. That's soil. If you're seeing spots, you may actually get your skin crawling, because you and I happen to know spots are generally bio-based, meaning there's some kind of organic material that's decomposing there in that textile. So that kicks off odors, and it's really, not attractive to see. So that is the second hotspot, is how do we tune the floors? We can't ignore them. And the third area, of course, is restrooms. And a lot of people will make a determination as to what rest area they stop at or what mini market they stop at in order to get fuel. It's all not based on the price of the gas or, whether there's shade over the parking spot. It's based on how clean the restroom is. So those are the top 3. And there's some easy and hard things about all 3. All 3 have 3 different tasks you have to work with. One is, what do you do on a daily routine basis, right? So you clean a bathroom, or you take out the trash, you mop the soil off a floor, you vacuum a carpet, or you might spray some odor counteractant in the air. And that's what you might do on a daily basis. At some point, you start to fail. It starts to get out of control, in which case you have to get into some really heavy duty, restorative, rejuvenating type of procedure, like stripping and refinishing a floor, hot water extraction on a carpet, pressure washing a bathroom, or something like that. But what a lot of people miss the boat on, that's a very expensive, time-consuming element. But there's this interim level of care that comes into play that becomes the most efficient and effective way to maintain a high level of cleanliness. And these are the things that we do to tune up an area in between what we do daily for soil removal and what we do maybe annually to restore an area. These are things like top scrub and recoating a floor. These are things like using low moisture carpet cleaning on traffic lanes, using master spotting kits to pull out difficult carpet spots, using different types of cleaners that coincide with the odor counteractant cabinets that are in a bathroom. So it's all of a common fragrance. All of these things come into play as interim forms of maintenance. And it's the number one area that people have the least knowledge. It's the biggest vacuum that exists in the industry, is knowledge about what do we do in the interim. And I plan to attack that kind of with a vengeance, kind of like I'm doing here, Jeff. I want to talk about it with enthusiasm and passion. At the ISSA show, I love the ISSA show. It's been part of my life, my whole career. So I'm just hoping to live up to everybody's expectations of me at the ISSA show.